Welcome to the O'Donnell kitchen. This is where we go to make jelly and other things too, other types of food. But today we're going to be making jelly, and more specifically candy apple red jelly, which is sort of a specialty item. Now, jelly making, if you don't know anything about it, it's kind of like the Kentucky Derby. You know, the Kentucky Derby lasts about like maybe 2 minutes. Is that right, honey? 2 minutes?
Well, no, it actually, I mean, the race itself lasts about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's very, very short. So, yet, you know, before that, you know, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. You know, several days of preparation. So it's but you know, in the case of jelly making, the actual process of making the jelly is going to be like a 5-minute thing that it has to be done very quickly before it sets and starts getting gross. Okay, you have to cook it quickly. You have to put it in the jars quickly. And however, you have to prepare. What I do, I get all of my ingredients, which in this case is apple juice. Sorry?
You're out of picture.
Oh, I get all my ingredients together. We've got apple juice. We've got sugar. What I do with the sugar is I put it in a bowl, and there's a lot of sugar in it, 4.5 cups. That should show you exactly how much sugar goes into jelly. This will make about between 6 and 8 half pints, and so that's a lot of sugar. And then if we got some, over here we have some hot tamales, which is the secret ingredient, and we have some pectin. So I get all of these items together. Now pectin is actually is a coagulant that's made from fruit, apples usually, and it's what makes the jelly gel. That and the sugar together. And of course, I always pour myself a beer because I like to drink a beer when I'm camping for some reason. This is a Good People Coffee Oatmeal Stout. And over here, okay, well, one thing that's very, very important in jelly making is that everything has to be sterile. Because, well, honestly, you see, the thing is, if you make a jar of jelly, it should be able to last for a year or so before you open it. Hopefully, you know, you won't need to, you know, you'll eat it before then. But just so you know, but that's the thing. That's the idea of it's preservation. We're preserving things, and if you know, you should be able to take a jar of jelly that's a year old, open it up, eat it, and not have to worry about any sort of bacteria being in it, or and there's some really bad ones too. It could actually kill you if it's done improperly. So we want to do it properly. So we want to boil everything. Boil everything. Over here we have our jars. Now jars can be reused as long as they're not chipped or broken. And so we have some jars that I've actually had for a long time in here that have you know, been used for many jelly making operations. Every time that a jar of jelly is emptied, I wash it out and save the jar. This is an example of one, and this is a neat little item right here. These are jar holders. You know, they're used to lift the jars from the pot of water. But yeah, that's what we're doing. And since I'm a nerd, I have my little candy thermometer right here. You know, because I'm checking to see how long it's going to be before the water boils. A pot of water this size is going to take a long time to boil. Right now it's only 178 degrees, and of course we have to wait till it's up to 212. Candy thermometer, it's not really necessary for this, but it will be necessary for making your jelly, and we're going to get to that in a second. Also, these are the lids. These are the lids that go on top of the jelly jars. These cannot be reused. No, you don't want to reuse these. They have some wax on one side, and what you do is you put it on top, and then you take a band, which is one of these things. These are the bands, and you just use it to close the jar. The bands don't have to be sterilized because they're not touching the jelly, but the lids do have to be sterilized. So what I do is I boil another little pot of water right here, but we don't want to boil these for too long because they have wax on them. We don't want the wax to go, to completely melt. And how are we doing right now? 181 degrees, 180, falling actually. So it's going to be a little bit longer before the jars are ready. But once this water starts to boil, we take the jars out and we fill them with the jelly that we're about to make.
Boiling these jars.
Yes, we are.
Why are we boiling them again?
To sanitize them, because they have to be as clean as possible. There can't be anything, so they have to be boiled to the, to the boiling point. And so that's what we're doing now. We're like maybe 20 degrees away. Again, when you do when you do canning, everything has to be as sterile and sanitized as possible, because there can't be any bacteria or other germs. Now, when we process these jars, a lot of, it's in theory it should kill all of the bacteria, if there are any, but you don't want to take any chances. You want to make sure there's none to begin with. Now, you can use for jelly, especially if it has a lot of extra ingredients, you can use just the cheap kind. Some people prefer to use premium apple juice when they make their jelly, but I'm just using the Publix brand. What is important is you really want to use the kind that doesn't have any added sugar, okay? Because that can really throw you off, because you're using a lot of sugar to begin with in your jelly, and this is how much sugar we are using. We're going to use about half this bottle to make the first batch, but we're going to use this whole thing, 4.5 cups of sugar. So there's actually going to be more sugar than there is juice. It takes a lot of sugar to make jelly, and that's something you should think about when you eat jelly, is how much sugar goes into it. This over here is, these of course are hot tamales, which is something that's going to give our candy apple jelly its candy flavor. They're going to melt, right into the apple juice. Now this is of course, here's the box it comes in. Sure gel pectin. Okay, which is, this is pectin is something that is used to, but back in the old days, what they often had to do is they had to actually add apples to jelly, no matter what the flavor was, just because there are certain ingredients in apples that help create a solid jelly. Now they've isolated some of those ingredients in to make pectin. Okay, so but that's what makes it gel. You can use it in jelly. It's necessary for jelly, and most people use it in jam too. And of course, over here we've got our measuring stuff. This here is this is the. You see, what you do with this is you put it on top of it. It's sort of a funnel, I guess you could say. You put it on top of the jar, and it helps you ladle without making a mess. This is essentially now this part is used for getting bubbles out of the jar. This part is used for picking up lids. You pick them up like this, and I'll show you why that's helpful in a second. Okay. And we lay out a nice dish towel to lay everything on. Lay the jars on when we take them out, and right before we're about to fill them. I think when it reaches about 200 degrees, we're going to start making the jelly, and I'll show you how it's made. Right now we're up at 193 degrees, 194.
Grover. Hi, Grover. Here's Grover. What a fine young man Grover is.
He is.
Isn't he beautiful?
He is.
Grover. Hi, buddy. How's it going? Hi, Grover. Yeah.